The ice. It's cracking. The children. The voice in her mind was a silent scream. In the heart of frozen Yakutia, where darkness had been her only sight since birth, the blind elder felt the deadly vibrations beneath her feet. 7 musk oxen, each weighing 6,000 kilos and enraged, cornered 7 innocent children on a river about to collapse. Their roars echoed in the blizzard, mixing with the agonizing cracks of the ice. The elder, guided only by the sound of panic and the scent of fear, ran, her ancestral flute her only weapon against nature's fury. But what could she, blind, do to defy imminent death and save the most vulnerable of her people? The elder, named Anya, felt the icy air cut across her face, but her focus was beyond physical pain. Each step was a silent prayer, each tap of her staff on the compacted snow a guide. Her ears, sharpened by decades of darkness, caught the chaotic symphony of danger, the heavy dragging of the musk oxen's hooves, the low, guttural growl that preceded an attack, and above all, the muffled cries of the children. There were 7, she knew, 7 precious lives from the village, each a thread in the fabric of her community, and she felt the weight of each one in her heart. Anya envisioned the scene with the clarity of one who sees with the soul. The children, likely huddled together, trying to protect themselves from the wind and the imposing animals. The musk oxen, creatures of the snow, normally majestic and peaceful, now transformed into mountains of fury. Their eyes red with rage, the warm vapor from their nostrils freezing in the air. The elder could feel the urgency and the tremor of the ice beneath her feet, a premonition of catastrophe intensifying with every meter, a silent lament from the earth. "Stay still, my little ones." Anya's voice, though hoarse from effort and cold, carried a gentle authority. She knew the children might not hear her through the howling wind and panic, but the intention was a balm for her own soul, a promise that they would not be abandoned. She needed to get close, very close. Among the children, little Lena, just 6 years old, trembled uncontrollably. Her large, dark eyes were fixed on the approaching musk oxen, their enormous heads lowered, pushing them towards the edge of the ice that already showed cracks like spider webs. Beside her, her older brother Mikhail, 12, tried to be brave, holding Lena's hand tightly. He could feel the ice giving way beneath their feet, a sound that seemed amplified in his terrified mind. "Don't look at them, Lena. Look at me," Mikhail whispered, trying to divert his sister's attention from the imminent danger. But fear was a thick veil that covered everything, suffocating any glimmer of hope. Suddenly, a different sound pierced the air. It wasn't the wind, nor the musk oxen, nor the ice. It was a melody, an ancient, familiar melody that seemed to come from the earth itself, Anya's ancestral flute. The first notes were low, almost inaudible, but they carried a resonance that soothed, that spoke of mountains and rivers, of past winters and summers to come. It was the song of the Yakut people, the song that told stories of resilience and connection, an echo of ancestral times now manifesting in the chaos. The elder wasn't just playing, she was channeling the wisdom of her ancestors through the polished wood of the flute. Her fingers danced over the holes, each note a prayer, a spell against the fury. She moved towards the musk oxen, not with aggression, but with a calm and unwavering presence, her staff serving as an extension of her will. The animals, previously blinded by rage, began to react. Their heads lifted slightly. Their ears moved, catching the unusual sounds. The melody was not a threat. It was an invitation to peace, a reminder of their own wild yet harmonious nature, a song that spoke directly to the creatures' primal hearts. Anya felt the change in the ground's vibrations. The musk oxen's fury hadn't completely vanished, but it was diminishing, replaced by cautious curiosity, a slight softening in their heavy steps. She knew she had only a small window of opportunity. The ice continued to groan, and the children were getting closer to the edge, their small bodies trembling not just from cold, but from a newfound hope upon hearing the melody. The elder, with her mind a detailed map of sounds and sensations, traced the safest route, the path to salvation, knowing that the next move would be the most crucial of all. She pressed the flute to her lips, ready for the next audacious phase of her plan. Anya took a deep breath, the icy air burning her lungs, but her determination burned stronger than any flame. Her fingers, agile despite the cold, wove a more complex melody, a song that seemed to plead, not command. She wasn't trying to drive the musk oxen away by force, but rather to appeal to their deeper nature, their connection to the frozen land they both shared. With slow, deliberate steps, she began to move not away, but towards the center of the circle of danger, her staff probing the ice ahead, seeking the firmest spots. The musk oxen, previously motionless in their contained fury, reacted to the new cadence. Their enormous heads, which had been pushing the children, now lifted, swaying gently to the rhythm of the flute. One of the animals, the largest of all, with darker fur and imposing horns, took a hesitant step to the side, opening a small gap. It wasn't a clear path, but it was an opening, an invitation to audacity. Mikhail, still holding Lena, felt a shiver run through his body. The elder's melody was strong now, enveloping them like a warm embrace amidst the biting cold. He saw the musk ox's movement, and for an instant, a spark of hope ignited in his eyes. "Lena, did you hear? The elder is here. She's helping us." His voice was a hoarse whisper, but it carried the strength of one clinging to a miracle. Lena, her eyes still teary, squeezed her brother's hand, but lifted her head, her small ears attuned to the music that seemed to push away the darkness. Anya felt the change in the vibration pattern. The ice to her right, where the musk ox had moved, seemed slightly more stable, or perhaps it was just the illusion created by the diminished animal pressure. She knew every second was precious. The sound of ice cracking under the hooves of the other musk oxen, still nervously agitated, was a constant reminder of the imminent disaster. She needed to act, and fast. With a decisive movement, Anya lifted the flute from her lips for an instant and shouted, her voice mixing with the wind, "Children, follow my voice, slowly, one step at a time." She then resumed playing, but now the melody was more urgent, more directed, like a sonic beacon. She began to move through the gap the muskox had opened, her staff ahead, testing the ground. She couldn't see, but she could feel the imposing presence of the animals beside her, the warmth of their massive bodies, the scent of their fur. The muskox that had moved instead of closing the passage remained there, its heavy, warm breath brushing the icy air near Anya. It was a moment of unimaginable tension. The blind elder was now amidst the giants, fully trusting her perception and the magic of her flute. She felt the ice groan under her and the animal's weight. A louder crack than the previous ones echoed, and a new, deeper fissure snaked across the surface. The children screamed. Anya knew it was now or never. She felt the tremor of the ice beneath her feet, a final warning. One of the musk oxen, startled by the sound of the ice giving way, made an abrupt movement, a clumsy step that brought it dangerously close to the children. Without hesitation, with the flute still at her lips, Anya spun, using the momentum to throw herself between the massive body of the muskox and the little ones. Her fragile body, propelled by courage, collided with the animal's thick fur, not to harm it, but to divert its course, to create a living barrier. At the same instant, the already weakened ice beneath their feet could no longer bear the weight. A deafening crash filled the air, and the surface shattered into 1,000 fragments, swallowing Anya and the children in a whirlwind of icy water and shards of ice. The world became a blur of cold and panic, and the flute's melody abruptly silenced, submerged in the frozen chaos. The impact of the icy water was a brutal shock, a deadly embrace that stole the air from Anya's lungs. For an instant the world became only cold, a sharp pain that seemed to pierce even her soul. But there was no time for despair. Her ears, even submerged and dazed, caught the bubbling sounds and the muffled cries of the children. She felt the weight of her own soaked garments pulling her down, but her mind was clear, a beacon of determination amidst the darkness and chaos that surrounded her. "Mikhail! Lena! Hold on to me!" Anya's voice, though weak and hoarse from the cold, carried the urgency of a vital command. She stretched out her arms, desperately groping in the dark, icy water that seemed to swallow them. Her fingers found a small, trembling body, and she pulled it close, recognizing Lena's coat. The girl was in shock, her body rigid with cold, but her small fingers clung to the elder with surprising strength, a primal instinct for survival. The shattered ice floated around them, sharp blocks that threatened to injure with every movement. Anya felt one of the musk oxen stir at the edge of the hole, its hoof scraping dangerously close. The animal, startled by the sudden collapse, no longer seemed furious but confused and disoriented. Its presence, however, was still an imminent threat, an unpredictable giant. Mikhail, at 12 years old, struggled to keep his head above water. The cold was excruciating, paralyzing his muscles and stealing his breath. He heard Anya's voice and, with superhuman effort, swam towards the sound, pushing the other younger siblings in front of him, protecting them as best he could. "Elder, we're here, the others too." His voice was a lament, but also a cry of survival echoing in the icy vastness. Anya, with Lena firmly embraced, used her staff. Even in the water, it was an extension of her keen perception. She extended it, probing what remained of the solid ice surface around the hole. The hollow sound beneath the staff's tip indicated a more stable, though precarious and slippery platform. "This way, slowly. Use the ice for support." One of the musk oxen, the same one Anya had intercepted, let out a low bellow, almost a moan of relief or confusion, and retreated from the edge, its enormous silhouette disappearing into the blizzard. The other animals, equally disturbed by the confusion and the sound of the ice giving way, began to disperse, the sound of their heavy hooves diminishing as they moved away to the safety of solid ground. The flute's melody had silenced, but its effect persisted, transforming the initial fury into caution, the immediate danger into a confused retreat. Anya felt Mikhail's hand on her arm, and soon after, other small hands clung to her, seeking warmth and safety. The 7 children were there, clinging around her, their bodies trembling uncontrollably, their lips blue. The priority now was to get them out of the icy water. With a strength that came from pure will and unconditional love, Anya pushed Lena upwards, feeling her slip through her hands, but being pulled by Mikhail, who was already trying to hoist himself onto the edge of the ice with all his might. "One at a time. My little ones, use your legs, push," Anya instructed, her voice hoarse but firm, echoing the resilience of her people. She felt the ice under her hands, rough and cutting, but it was their only salvation. With her staff, she broke smaller pieces of ice that blocked the way, creating a small opening for the children to crawl through. The effort was immense, each movement a battle against the excruciating cold and the encroaching exhaustion. Her own limbs were numb, but she could not give in. The children's lives depended on her. She felt the last of the little ones being pulled to the surface, and then, with one last monumental effort, Anya propelled herself up, feeling a searing pain in her left shoulder, where the impact with the musk ox and the fall had injured her. The ice gave way slightly under her weight, but she managed to drag herself out, exhausted, but with profound relief and silent gratitude. The children were safe for now, but the cold was a relentless enemy, and the journey back to the village was still long and perilous. Yakutia's biting air was an icy reminder of the urgency. Anya, her body throbbing and left shoulder in agony, dragged herself from the edge of the hole. The relief of being out of the water was overwhelming, but the cold threatened to freeze her bones. Gasping, she caught her breath, dense vapor escaping her lips. The 7 children huddled, trembling. Lena, clinging to the elder, sobbed, her face bluish. Mikhail, pale and exhausted, yet with responsibility, asked, "Elder, are we all right?" His voice, a thin thread over the howling wind. Anya shook her head. "Yes, my little ones, out of the water, but the danger hasn't passed." She felt Lena's face, sensing the cold skin. She needed to act fast. Hypothermia was relentless. "We need to move, now." Her hoarse voice carried authority. "Mikhail, help the younger ones, share warmth, and let's walk." She tried to stand, but dizziness and the pain in her shoulder made her groan. The impact and the fall had taken their toll. Mikhail, seeing her difficulty, ran to help her, offering his shoulder. He helped Anya to her feet, feeling her weight and strength. The others huddled together, seeking warmth. "Where are we going, Elder?" asked little Anya, 8 years old. "Home, my little one. To the village. It's the only direction." Anya traced the path. The frozen river was the shortest, but treacherous. They needed to follow the banks, where the ice was thicker. Her staff, recovered, became her eyes, probing the terrain. The elder began to walk, slow and steady steps, guided by the sound of the wind, the snow, and the vibrations of the ground. The children followed her, a silent and vulnerable procession. Lena, still tearful, was carried by Mikhail, who struggled to keep pace. With each step, Anya felt the cold penetrate her wet clothes, but the image of the children was a fire in her chest. She felt their unwavering trust. It was a heavy burden, but an inexhaustible source of strength. The wind whipped their faces, raising clouds of snow that obscured their field of vision. The darkness of the Yakutian night fell, making the journey more perilous. She needed to find shelter or a place to rest before the cold overcame them. Suddenly, Anya's staff hit something different. It wasn't snow nor ice. It was a hard, cold surface with an irregular texture. She knelt, probing. It was rock, an outcrop that could offer protection from the wind. "Here, we can shelter," Anya exclaimed, relieved. The exhausted children collapsed into the snow around the rock, huddling together, seeking warmth. Anya sat among them, pulling Lena onto her lap and rubbed the girl's hands, trying to restore circulation. The journey was far from over, but a refuge had been found. A breath of hope in the merciless white and icy vastness. Anya felt the faint warmth of the small bodies, a fragile balm against the life-sapping cold. Lena, on her lap, trembled less, her breathing shallow. The elder persistently rubbed the girl's hands, a gesture of love. Her left shoulder throbbed, a reminder of the impact. Her mental clarity was paramount. "We are safe here for a moment. My little ones," Anya whispered, her voice hoarse but calm. "But the cold is a hungry wolf. We cannot stay still." She felt Mikhail approach, his shoulders against hers. The boy, despite the terror and exhaustion, exuded courage. "Elder, what will we do? The village is far," Mikhail asked, his voice choked. He looked at his younger siblings, their faces pale and lips blue. The weight of responsibility was visible. Anya closed her eyes to listen to the earth and their hearts. "The village is not just a place, Mikhail. It's a feeling, and we will return to it." The rocky outcrop offered a brief respite, insufficient against the night and the wind. "We need to move," she decided, her voice firm. "We cannot go faster than the slowest. Mikhail, you and the older ones will guide the younger ones. Stay together." She felt a squeeze on her hand. Lena sought comfort. Anya squeezed the small hand, a silent pact of protection. The elder began to stand, groaning with pain. Mikhail immediately helped her, his arms small but firm. The others, seeing Anya's determination, also moved, their bodies stiff with cold and fatigue. Little Anya, 8 years old, took the hand of a younger sibling. "Let's sing," Anya proposed, her voice rising, "a song of our people, to warm our spirits and our feet." She intoned an ancient melody of hunting and gratitude. The children, hesitant, murmured along, their thin, trembling voices joining hers, creating a bubble of human warmth and hope in the icy vastness. Using her staff as a guide, Anya probed the path along the base of the outcrop, seeking safer, less exposed ground. Each step was a battle against pain and cold. The melody and the small, clinging hands were her strength. The ice beneath her feet seemed firmer, but treacherous. The wind lessened slightly. The path was slow and arduous. The darkness of the night was almost total, the snow obscuring the landscape. Anya relied on hearing and intuition. She felt the presence of the children, their dragging steps, their gasping breaths. She knew hypothermia was a constant threat, but the song and the connection kept them moving. Suddenly, Anya's staff touched something soft and irregular in the snow. She stopped, the melody ceasing. The children stopped. Anya knelt, probing. It was a piece of animal fur, perhaps from a caribou, not a threat, but a reminder of wildlife and the fragility of their existence. She felt a chill, but one of renewed determination. She stood up, her staff ahead. "Keep singing, my little ones," she said, her voice soft but firm. "With every step, we are closer to home." And so, the procession resumed, children's voices joining the ancestral melody, a thread of hope weaving itself into the relentless darkness of Yakutia. The procession resumed, children's voices joining the ancestral melody, a thread of hope in the relentless darkness of Yakutia. Each step was a victory against the deepening cold and the exhaustion that weighed on everyone's shoulders. With her staff ahead, Anya felt the crunchy snow beneath her feet, a sound that, for her, revealed the solidity of the ice. The children's faint voices were a tenuous warmth, a melody of life that propelled her. Lena, in Mikhail's lap, sobbed softly, her small fingers clinging with desperate strength to her brother's coat. Little Anya, 8 years old, held another's hand tightly, her eyes fixed on the elder's back, as if she were the only guiding star in a starless sky. The pain in her left shoulder was constant, a sharp reminder of the impact, but she ignored it, focusing on the ground's vibrations, the changing howl of the wind, and the accelerated heartbeats of the little ones. The darkness was almost absolute, broken only by the pale gleam of the snow. The relentless cold seeped into their wet clothes, bit at exposed skin, and drained the vital energy from every muscle. Anya felt the children's bodies stiffen with cold, their steps slow and dragging, each movement a monumental effort. Time was their cruelest enemy, and every minute of hesitation could be fatal. Suddenly, a distant and unmistakable howl cut through the icy air. The hairs on Anya's neck bristled. Wolves. But there was something strange. The sound seemed to come from several directions, distorted, echoing fantastically across the white vastness. She stopped abruptly, her staff suspended in the air. The children, sensing the abrupt pause, also stopped, the song dying on their lips, replaced by a tense silence and the sound of gasping breaths. "Elder, what is it?" Mikhail asked, his voice laden with a new fear, almost a whisper. He pressed Lena even closer to him, his eyes wide in the darkness, searching for any sign of danger. The other little ones huddled, their hearts beating fast and audibly to Anya. Anya frowned, concentrating with all her might. The howl repeated, stronger, but still with that strange resonance that disturbed her. It was a sound she knew well, a warning from the wild. But the way it manifested deeply confused her. Were they indeed wolves, surrounding them in the darkness? Or was it the wind, playing with the rock formations, creating a sonic illusion for her already exhausted and overloaded hearing? Doubt, a subtle poison, began to infiltrate her unwavering determination. For the first time since the ordeal began, Anya felt a pang of uncertainty, a genuine fear. What if her inner vision, her most reliable guide, was betraying her at the most crucial moment? Panic began to spread among the children. One of the younger ones cried softly, and soon another. "Wolves! The wolves!" whispered little Anya, 8 years old, clinging to the elder in despair. The elder knew she couldn't give in to doubt. The children's lives depended on her clarity and leadership. She took a deep breath, the icy air burning her lungs, trying to calm her own heart. "Silence, my little ones. They are not wolves. It's the wind. The wind plays with the rocks," she said, her voice firmer than she felt, a balm of authority. But the sound was so real, so much like a predator's howl, that Anya herself struggled to believe her own words. She extended her staff, probing the air and the ground around her. There was no scent of wolf, no vibrations of heavy paws approaching, only the biting cold, the incessant wind, and the disturbing echo. Her ancestral wisdom whispered that nature, in its vastness, created traps for the senses. She needed to trust in more than just a sound. She needed to feel the earth, the air, the absence of other presences, the truth hidden behind the illusion. With immense effort, Anya knelt in the snow, resting her free hand on the icy ground. She closed her eyes, concentrating her inner perception with almost painful intensity. She felt the constant tremor of the ice beneath the snow, the distant pulse of the frozen river, but no vibrations of a large group of animals moving towards them. The howl continued, but now, with full attention and a focused mind, she discerned a crucial difference. It wasn't organic. It wasn't the lament of a living creature. It was the sound of the wind blowing through a peculiar rock formation, a narrow canyon that amplified and distorted the sound, making it seem like a chorus of ghostly howls, a perfect trap for the senses. An icy yet profound relief coursed through Anya, relaxing her tense muscles. She wasn't mistaken. Her perception was still her most faithful ally. But the turning point was there. The doubt, the fragility of her own vision at such a critical moment, which had forced her to go beyond the obvious. She stood up, her face marked by the tension that was now dissipating, but with a new and unwavering resolve. There are no wolves, my dears. It's just the voice of the wind, reminding us of its strength and how nature can deceive us. But we are safe. Mikhail, still apprehensive, looked at the elder, his childlike eyes seeking confirmation. The trust in his eyes, even though she couldn't see them, was a balm for Anya's soul. "Even so, elder, it sounds so real," he murmured, his voice still a little shaky. "Nature tests us in many ways, my child, not just with the cold and the animals, but with the fear in our hearts." Anya replied, her voice soft but firm, echoing ancestral wisdom. "But courage is the flame that does not extinguish. Let's continue, and let's sing louder, so the wind knows we're not afraid and that our spirit is stronger." She began to walk again, her staff probing the path with renewed certainty, each step now firmer. The children, still a little scared, but visibly reassured by Anya's calm and authoritative voice, began to murmur the song again, their voices gaining strength, defying the ghostly howl of the wind. Anya felt their small bodies moving behind her, a procession of hope and resilience in the icy vastness. Doubt had been a test, and they had overcome it, not with brute force, but with the wisdom of an elder and the unwavering faith of children. The journey was long, but the spirit of her people, forged in ice and snow, would never be broken. The ancestral melody, now more a whisper than a vibrant song, floated in the thin air, mixing with the icy breath of the relentless wind. Anya, her staff ahead, felt every irregularity of the terrain beneath the snow, every slight change in incline, every promise of firmer ice under her feet. Her own steps, once firm and decisive, now dragged a little more, her left shoulder throbbing with an intensity that threatened to steal her breath with every movement. She clenched her teeth, the pain a constant reminder of her own fragility, but the image of the 7 small souls behind her was an invisible shield against the despair trying to infiltrate. Mikhail, with Lena asleep and heavy in his arms, felt his leg muscles burn with continuous effort. The cold seemed to have seeped into his bones, and drowsiness, a treacherous and subtle danger, tried to envelop him in its cloak of torpor. He shook his head vigorously, fighting against the urge to give in, and looked at elder Anya. Her silhouette, though diminished by distance and the blizzard, seemed unwavering in the growing darkness. "Elder, are we close?" he asked. His voice almost a groan, more to himself than to her, a thin thread of hope and exhaustion. Anya heard the deep exhaustion in the boy's voice, the question that carried the weight of them all. She stopped, raising her staff and probing the air with her keen perception. The wind was carrying a familiar scent, an aroma of burning wood smoke, faint, almost imperceptible to others, but unmistakable to her sharpened senses. A faint, almost imperceptible smile touched her cold, cracked lips, an expression of relief and certainty. "Yes, my child, we are closer than you imagine. I smell the smoke from our hearths. I feel the warmth of our village, even if it is still far away in my heart." The children, hearing Anya's words, felt a thread of hope ignite in their small, frozen hearts. Little Anya, 8 years old, who until then could barely lift her feet, found a new and surprising strength in her tired legs. She squeezed the hand of her younger brother Ivan and murmured with a sparkle in her eyes, "Smoke! The elder smells the smoke! We're going home!" The enthusiasm, though fragile and mixed with exhaustion, was contagious, spreading quickly among the little ones. The elder, sensing the change in the little one's spirits, knew that hope was a powerful remedy against the excruciating cold and the exhaustion that consumed them. "Come, my little ones. Think of the warm soups, the soft furs that await you, and the tight embrace of your parents. Every step we take now is one more hug you will soon give." She began to walk again, her pace a little slower than before, but with a renewed determination that radiated from her being. The terrain began to change subtly, becoming more irregular, with small elevations and depressions hidden beneath the snow. Anya realized they were approaching the edge of the forest that surrounded the village, a sign that the worst of the open, exposed plain was behind them. The protection of the trees, even if sparse and twisted by the merciless cold, would offer a small but welcome relief from the biting wind that mercilessly lashed them. Suddenly, one of the younger ones, little Boris, just 5 years old, stumbled and fell into the soft snow, a faint, desolate cry escaping his blue lips. Immediately, little Anya, 8 years old, and another brother Ivan, 9, knelt to help him, their small bodies moving with instinctive urgency. Mikhail, even with Lena in his arms, tried to approach, but the elder was already there, kneeling with a groan of pain she tried to stifle. She felt Boris's face, sensing his icy tears mixed with the snow. "Don't fear, my little one. It was just a small stumble. We are almost there, my brave one." With a Herculean effort, Anya helped him up, feeling the boy's weakness and tremor. She pulled him close, embracing him with one arm, while her staff remained firm in her other hand, her faithful extension. The pain in her shoulder was excruciating, an icy fire, but she bore it with the same resilience as her people. The connection with the children, the responsibility she felt for each of them, was what kept her standing, what propelled her spirit. They continued, The elder now with Boris nestled at her side, the faint warmth of his small body a source of mutual comfort in the icy vastness. With each meter covered, the smell of smoke grew stronger, more real, a tangible promise of salvation and home. The trees began to thicken, offering a protective barrier against the merciless wind. The melody, which had ceased with Boris's fall, resumed, stronger and more hopeful, a chorus of children's voices mixing with the howl of the wind, transforming it into a chant of imminent victory. Anya knew the village was near. She felt the energy of her ancestors guiding her, the unwavering strength of her people flowing through every fiber of her being. The journey had been a trial by fire, a challenge to her own faith and endurance, but she had prevailed. Not by her physical strength, which diminished with every step, but by the unbreakable strength of her spirit and the unconditional love she felt for her community, for her family. The village was not just a physical destination, it was the pulsating heart of her existence, and she was bringing her little ones back home to the warmth and safety they so longed for. Anya felt the village with every fiber of her being beyond the smoke. The elder's heart beat in unison with the little ones, a symphony of hope and exhaustion. The pain in her left shoulder, a constant reminder of the sacrifice, seemed lighter, overshadowed by home. Boris, still nestled at her side, had stopped crying, the warmth of his fragile body a miracle against the relentless cold. Mikhail, with Lena in his arms, staggered, but his eyes shone with new determination. Little Anya, 8 years old, and Ivan, 9, held the hands of their younger siblings, their steps dragging but firm, propelled by the promise of a mother's embrace. The forest, once imposing, now became an ally. The twisted, snow-covered trees broke the wind, offering respite. The ground, though uneven, felt more solid beneath the snow, a path less treacherous than the river ice. Anya probed with her staff, feeling exposed roots and rough trunks, each touch a map. The smell of smoke intensified, mixing with the aroma of pine and frozen earth, a fragrance of life and warmth in the icy air. Suddenly, a distinct sound broke the night silence, not the howl of the wind, but human voices, distant yet unmistakable. Shouts of search, calling names she recognized. Lena, Mikhail, Anya! The elder's heart leaped, a powerful relief made her gasp. The children, hearing, stopped abruptly, their pale faces turning towards the sound. "It's our parents!" exclaimed little Anya, her voice choked, a mix of joy and disbelief. Warm tears streamed down her frozen cheeks. Mikhail, exhausted, found renewed strength. He squeezed Lena, who woke with the commotion and tried to shout, but his voice failed. The elder, however, raised her ancestral flute to her cracked lips. With lungs burning from the cold, she blew a short but penetrating melody, an ancient call that echoed through the trees, carrying urgency and hope. It was a sound the village knew well, a sign that the elder was near and the promise of life with her. The searching voices drew closer, stronger and clearer. Soon, flickering torches appeared among the trees, dancing in the darkness. Robust figures wrapped in furs emerged from the blizzard, their faces marked by worry and exhaustion. The first to reach them was Lena and Mikhail's mother, her face, previously desperate, transfigured into pure relief. She ran, arms open, and took Lena from Mikhail's arms, hugging her tightly, as if wanting to merge the two. "My daughter, my children!" she sobbed, tears streaming freely. Other parents approached, cries of joy and relief filling the air. Tight hugs, gratitude, and happy tears mixed with the howl of the wind. Elder Anya felt the warm hands of one of the men on her uninjured shoulder, a touch of respect and gratitude. "Elder, you brought them back. You saved them," said the hoarse voice of one of the hunters, his face wet with tears. Anya merely nodded, a faint smile. Exhaustion hit her, an overwhelming wave, But she remained standing, her staff still firm, a symbol of her journey and unbreakable determination. The children were safe. The village had found its little ones again. Human connection, love, and resilience triumphed over merciless Yakutia. They weren't just returning home, they were reaffirming the spirit of their people, the flame that would never extinguish in the deepest cold. The elder felt peace envelop her heart, deep and well-deserved. As the parents embraced their children with a fury of love and relief, Elder Anya felt her legs falter. The adrenaline that had propelled her for hours, sustaining her through pain and cold, finally drained away, leaving her with overwhelming exhaustion. One of the hunters, the same who had expressed his gratitude, noticed her stumble and gently supported her before she fell into the snow. "Elder, you need rest," he said, his voice deep and full of reverence. Other hands reached out, helping her walk or almost carrying her towards the village. The air inside the cabins was a balm for the lungs, laden with the smell of wood smoke, dried furs, and the promise of warm food. The children were immediately wrapped in fur blankets, their small hands and feet rubbed by mothers and grandmothers, while cups of hot herbal tea were offered. Lena, still sleepy, was nestled in her mother's lap, who rocked her gently, kissing her tangled hair. Mikhail, despite extreme exhaustion, felt a silent pride for having carried his sister for so long, and his father embraced him with a strength that conveyed more than words. Little Anya, 8 years old, sat near the fire, watching the flames dance, her face still pale, but her eyes fixed on the elder, who was being cared for in a corner of the cabin. Elder Anya was laid on soft furs, near the comforting warmth of the central hearth. One of the most experienced women in the village, with gentle and wise hands, examined her left shoulder. "It's very swollen, Elder." "The impact was strong," she murmured, applying a hot herbal compress. The pain was acute, but Anya did not complain. She merely nodded, her thin lips curved in a tired smile. She could hear the whispers of relief, the suppressed sobs, and the soft laughter of the recovering children. Each sound was a melody of life, a confirmation that her mission had been accomplished. Later, when the village had calmed and most of the children were asleep, the adults gathered around the elder. The village chief, a man with a stern face but kind eyes, knelt beside her. "Elder Anya, your courage and wisdom saved our children. How can we thank you?" His voice was choked with emotion. Anya, with an effort, raised a hand and touched the chief's face. "There is no need for thanks, my child. It is what we do for each other. We are one people, one heart. The life of one is the life of all." She felt the warmth of the hands that held her, the weight of the worries that dissipated. The ordeal had left its marks, yes, on her body and in everyone's memory, but it had also strengthened the bonds that united them. The elder knew that the story of that day would be told for generations, not just as a tale of danger and overcoming, but as a reminder of the strength that lies in unity, altruism, and ancestral wisdom. True vision, she thought, was not in the eyes that see the landscape, but in the spirit that sees the soul of its people and gives itself for it. The elder closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of the furs and the sweet scent of the herbs. She could feel the pulse of the village, the life that was reborn after the storm. The resilience of her people was not just a legend. It was a living flame, ignited by every act of courage, by every outstretched hand, by every song sung in the darkness. And she, Anya, the blind elder, was just one of many guardians of that flame, a link in the unbreakable chain of life in merciless yet beloved Yakutia. The legacy was safe once again and forever. Elder Anya rested, her body exhausted, but her spirit in a deep quietude. The warmth of the hearth heated her bones, and the aroma of healing herbs, lovingly applied to her injured shoulder, was a balm for the physical pain. She did not see the flames dance, but felt their pulsating warmth, a living presence that kept the relentless cold of Yakutia at bay. Her ears, always alert, now caught the soft sounds of the sleeping village, the crackle of wood, the regular breathing of the children in their furs, the distant murmur of adult voices still keeping watch. Each sound was a confirmation of life, a silent testament that they had prevailed. Mikhail, with Lena nestled beside him, slept deeply, his childlike face still marked by weariness, but with an expression of peace. Little Anya, 8 years old, awoke briefly, her blue eyes wandering around the cabin lit only by the fire. She turned to the elder, observing her motionless silhouette. A subtle fear, a remnant of the ordeal, still haunted her, but the elder's presence, even in repose, was a beacon of safety. She rose in silence and approached, sitting on the ground beside the furs where the elder rested. She extended a small hand and lightly touched Anya's wrinkled hand, a gesture of gratitude and affection that needed no words. The elder felt the touch, a soft warmth that spread across her skin. She parted her lips in a faint smile without opening her eyes. "Sleep, my little Anya. The danger has passed. Now, only warmth and rest await us." The girl nestled closer, feeling the silent strength that emanated from the elder, and soon fell asleep again, her hand still holding the woman's. The next morning, the village awoke with a new glow. The sun, though weak, painted the snow with golden hues, and the wind, for a brief moment, seemed less fierce. The children, recovered from the fright and exhaustion, played near the cabins, their laughter echoing in the icy air, a sound that Elder Anya heard with deep contentment. She sat, supported by furs, observing the world through her other senses. Her shoulder still ached, but the stiffness was diminishing, and the sense of relief was immense. The village chief, accompanied by some of the elders, came to visit her. "Elder, the village is indebted to you," he said, his voice solemn. "Your act of courage reminds us of the true meaning of our people." Anya shook her head. "There is no debt, my child, only the remembrance that we are strong when we are together, that the clearest vision is not that of the eyes, but that of the heart that sees the need of another." She paused, her lips curved in a thoughtful smile. "This journey taught me something new, too. The doubt, the fear I felt did not weaken me. On the contrary, it forced me to go further, to trust even more in my inner perception, to seek the truth behind the illusions of wind and darkness. True resilience is not the absence of fear, but the courage to face it and learn from it." The elders nodded, absorbing her words. Anya's wisdom was a river that flowed uninterruptedly, nourishing the soul of the village. The ordeal had left scars, yes, but it had also forged a new layer of understanding and unity. The community felt stronger, more cohesive, as if the thin river ice had transformed into an unbreakable bond. The children who had witnessed the elders' courage would carry this lesson forever, a legacy of altruism and overcoming etched into their young hearts. Elder Anya knew that her personal journey did not end there. Life in Yakutia was a succession of challenges, and with each one, the human spirit was tested and strengthened. But now, more than ever, she trusted in the flame that burned within each of them, a flame that the most intense cold could never extinguish, the warmth of the community, the melody of children's laughter, the smell of smoke and pine. All this was the true vision, the unwavering essence of her existence. She closed her eyes, feeling the pulse of life around her, ready for whatever came, with the certainty that together they would continue to flourish, defying the merciless beauty of their land. The pale morning sun bathed the village, but inside the main cabin where Elder Anya rested, the warmth was one of gratitude and reverence. The news of the children's salvation had touched every heart. No one had slept deeply, merely processing the miracle they had witnessed. Elder Anya, weak and with a throbbing shoulder, felt the community's energy. Sitting on furs near the hearth, she watched the women prepare breakfast. The children, recovered, moved with reverence, their eyes fixed on her. Mikhail, with Lena on his lap, held his sister's hand, his blue eyes reflecting maturity. Little Anya, 8 years old, knelt near the elder, observing her silent strength. When everyone gathered, Chief Boris, with a deep voice, silenced the murmurs. He approached the elder, kneeling. "Elder Anya," he began, his voice choked, "words are few. Your inner vision showed us the way. Your fragile body protected the most precious lives. It wasn't just courage. It was a reaffirmation of who we are, of what unites us." He paused, tears streaming. "You are the flame that illuminates our darkness, the voice that reminds us of our true strength." The elders nodded, and many villagers wept in silence. Mikhail, sensing the importance, stood with Lena and, hesitantly, offered the elder a small wooden amulet he had carved. "Elder," he said, his childlike voice firm, "I will never forget. We will never forget." Lena extended a small hand and touched Anya's wrinkled face, a pure gesture of love. Elder Anya felt the amulet in her palm, warm and smooth. She smiled, radiating deep peace. "My children, my people," she said, her voice soft but resonant. "What I did for love. Love for you, for this land, for the life we share. True strength is not in fighting the ice, but in dancing with it, in finding warmth where there seems to be none, in seeing the light in the densest blizzard. Fear is a shadow, but hope is the sun that dispels it." She raised her hand with the amulet. "This amulet," she continued, "is a reminder for everyone. Each of you carries a flame, a strength that moves mountains of ice. The clearest vision is not that of the eyes, but that of the heart that connects to another, that feels pain and joy. Justice is not punishment, but protecting the vulnerable. Altruism is the most beautiful melody we can sing." The elder paused. "Never forget," she concluded, her voice strong and clear, "that in Yakutia we are forged in the cold but warmed by love. The legacy of our people is not just to survive, but to flourish together as a single family, a pulsating heart. This is our truth, our unbreakable vision." A murmur of agreement and emotion swept through the cabin. The villagers looked at each other, their eyes filled with renewed determination. Elder Anya had transformed the ordeal into an eternal lesson, a beacon for future generations. The climax was not a battle roar, but a whisper of wisdom, a silent promise of unity and resilience that would echo forever across the vast steppes of Yakutia. A reverent silence filled the cabin, deeper than the cold outside. Elder Anya's words had touched the soul of every villager, resonating with the ancestral truth that kept them steadfast in Yakutia. Silent tears streamed down the wrinkled faces of the elders and the cheeks of the parents, not from sadness, but from overwhelming relief and a gratitude that transcended speech. Mikhail, still holding the amulet the elder had returned to him, pressed it against his chest, his blue eyes fixed on her, a silent promise that he would never forget. Lena, asleep in his lap, looked like an angel, her breath soft, a living reminder of life's fragility and preciousness. In the days that followed, the village moved with renewed energy, a silent purpose permeating every task. Elder Anya rested, her shoulder slowly healing under the care of the most experienced women. The pain persisted, but it was a pain that spoke of life, of a sacrifice that blossomed into unity. She spent her hours near the hearth, listening to the sounds of the village, the children's laughter, now more vibrant and carefree, the crunch of snow under the hunters' steps, the murmur of conversations that stretched into the night. Each sound was a tapestry of life, and she, with her keen hearing, was the silent weaver of their stories. The children, in turn, carried the experience in different ways. Boris, the 5-year-old, still clung more to his mother's skirt, but his eyes, once full of fear, now showed a renewed curiosity for the world. Little Anya, 8 years old, had grown in wisdom. She spent hours beside the elder, not just in silence, but asking questions, seeking to understand the depth of the connection the elder felt with the land and with the people. She observed the elder's gestures, the way her wrinkled fingers probed the air, how her face lit up upon hearing the song of a distant bird. Mikhail, the eldest, took on a protective role, not just for Lena, but for his younger siblings, his young shoulders carrying a weight of responsibility that made him more mature. He offered to help the hunters, his movements firmer, his gaze more attentive. The village, inspired by the elder, instituted a new tradition. At nightfall, before the most intense cold set in, the villagers gathered in the main cabin, not to discuss hunting or provisions, but to share stories, to sing ancient songs, and to reaffirm the bonds that united them. Chief Boris led these meetings, always reminding everyone of the elder's words. True strength is not in fighting the ice, but in dancing with it, in finding warmth where there seems to be none, in seeing the light in the densest blizzard. Elder Anya, seated in her place of honor, felt the warmth of the community enveloping her. She knew that the ordeal had left scars, yes, but it had also forged a new layer of understanding and unity. The thin river ice, which had almost swallowed them, had transformed into an unbreakable bond, a constant reminder of life's fragility and the unwavering strength of the human spirit. Human connection, love, and resilience were not just concepts, they were the essence of her existence. The flame that would never extinguish in the deepest cold. The village had not merely survived, it had flourished, stronger, more united, more aware of its legacy. The elder closed her eyes, a serene smile on her lips. She could feel the pulse of life around her, the promise of a future where ancestral wisdom would continue to guide her people, and where every child would be a guardian of Yakutia's unbreakable flame. Days turned into weeks, and weeks into months. Winter, which had seemed eternal, finally began to yield, giving way to a timid spring, where the ice cracked with a different sound, less threatening, more like a sigh from the awakening earth. Anya's shoulder had healed completely, leaving only a pale scar, a mark of her courage, invisible to the eyes but deeply etched in everyone's memory. The village, however, was never the same. The ordeal on the frozen river had forged an indissoluble bond. The tradition of nightly gatherings, initiated after the rescue, became a pillar of the community. Around the fire, stories were told, not just the ancient legends of snow spirits and great hunters, but also the story of Elder Anya and the 7 children. The children especially were the most avid storytellers, their childlike voices reenacting the moments of fear and the flute's melody that calmed the musk oxen. Mikhail, now with a more upright posture and an even more determined gaze, narrated his part with a seriousness that surprised the adults. He had become a young leader, always the first to help to protect the younger ones. Lena, though still small, carried a gleam of resilience in her eyes, and little Anya, 8 years old, continued to be the elder's shadow, absorbing every word, every gesture, every silence. Elder Anya spent her days sitting at the entrance of her cabin, feeling the weak sun on her face, listening to the village's hum. She didn't need to see to know that life was flourishing. She felt the smell of damp earth, the song of returning birds, the crystalline laughter of children running freely. Her ancestral flute, once an instrument of urgency, was now played in soft melodies, songs of gratitude and peace that lulled the village at dusk. People came to her, not just for advice on hunting or healing, but to share their joys, their hopes, their dreams. She was the heart of the village, the guardian of memory and wisdom. One sunny afternoon, when the river ice had finally broken up, revealing the dark and turbulent waters. The entire village gathered at its edge. There was no fear in their eyes, only respect for nature's strength. Chief Boris, his voice choked, raised a river-polished stone. "This stone," he said, "symbolizes our village, hard, yet shaped by the waters of life, fragile, yet unbreakable in its essence." He handed it to Elder Anya. She held it, feeling its cold, smooth texture. "Just like this stone," she began, her voice soft yet imbued with ancestral strength, "we are shaped by trials, but not broken. The river teaches us that life is a constant flow of danger and peace. True vision is not seeing what is before us, but feeling what is within us, courage, love, compassion." She paused, raising the stone towards the sun. "May this stone be a reminder," she continued, "that we are one, that justice is caring for each other, that altruism is the greatest gift, and that overcoming is not a victory over the cold, but a celebration of the flame that burns in our hearts. The children, our guardians of the future, will carry this truth. They are the promise that Yakutia's legacy of resilience will never fade." Mikhail, little Anya, and the other 5 children approached. Their eyes fixed on the elder. They were the next generation, the bearers of the flame. Elder Anya smiled, a smile that reached her soul. She knew her mission was complete, but her spirit would continue to guide. Life in Yakutia, with its relentless beauty and biting cold, would continue. But now they would face it with deeper wisdom, stronger love, and the unwavering certainty that together they were invincible. The flute's melody, the pulse of life, human connection, all this was the elder's eternal vision, a legacy of light in winter's darkness. The village, a pulsating heart, was ready for the future, forged in ice, warmed by love. The village, now more than ever, felt like a living organism, pulsating with the energy of a future that seemed brighter, despite Yakutia's eternal severity. Spring advanced, and the thaw revealed not only the dormant earth, but also the intrinsic resilience of its people. Elder Anya, sitting at her cabin door, absorbed every nuance of the world around her. The smell of melting snow mingled with the fresh aroma of pine, and the birdsong, once a distant murmur, was now a vibrant symphony celebrating life. Her healed shoulder, though still carrying the memory of pain, was a silent testament to her strength. She did not see the colors of spring, but felt its gentle warmth on her face, heard the hum of children playing, a sound that was once just joy, and now was the melody of hope. Mikhail, the eldest of the 7, had transformed. His eyes, once childlike, now carried a depth that spoke of responsibility and courage. He not only helped the hunters, but also guided the younger ones in their games, teaching them the importance of vigilance and mutual care, lessons the elder had etched into his heart. Little Anya, her 8-year-old namesake, continued to be her shadow, but with a renewed purpose. She no longer just observed. She asked questions, explored, tried to understand the secrets of the land and the people through the elder's sharpened senses. "Elder," she asked one day, while helping to sort healing herbs, "how do you know where danger is, even without seeing?" The elder smiled, her wrinkled fingers probing the air. "It's not about seeing with your eyes, my little one. It's about feeling with your heart, hearing with your soul. It's the connection with the earth, with the wind, with the pulse of every creature. It's the wisdom that tells us when the ice sings a song of danger or of peace." The nightly gatherings, which became an unwavering tradition, were the pulsating heart of this new era. They were not just for storytelling, but for sharing the day, for planning the future, for resolving small disagreements with collective wisdom. Chief Boris, always by the elder's side, guided these conversations, but it was Anya's soft and thoughtful voice that often brought clarity and unity. She reminded them that every challenge, no matter how small, was an opportunity to strengthen their bonds. One day, The village faced a delicate issue. Reindeer hunting, essential for sustenance, had decreased in the usual area. Some young hunters proposed venturing into unknown, more dangerous territories. Fear and uncertainty hung in the air. Elder Anya, hearing the murmurs and anxious voices, raised her hand. "Haste is the enemy of wisdom," she said, her voice calm. "The earth speaks to us. We need to listen. There are other paths, other ways to find what we need, without putting our young people at unnecessary risk. True courage is not recklessness, but patience and intelligence." Mikhail, who was among those who wanted to venture out, lowered his head, reflecting. He remembered the river, the feeling of being cornered. The elder was right. The village, with her guidance, decided to send experienced scouts to explore alternative routes and, meanwhile, to intensify fishing and root gathering. The decision brought palpable relief, and the community united in the new task, each contributing their effort. Elder Anya observed the activity, feeling the true harmony that was re-establishing itself. The flame of resilience, forged in ice and warmed by love, continued to burn, stronger and brighter than ever, a beacon of hope in merciless yet beloved Yakutia. The legacy was not just a story, it was a way of life, transmitted from heart to heart, from generation to generation.